Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Antonia's Blissful Corner. I'm here with Dr. Pratt, and today we're going to be talking about branding in silence. I think it's an interesting topic, one that I'm learning, right? Because when I first started to hear about branding, I was like, "What is that? Like, what does that even mean?" So I think this is a topic that is timely. So welcome. Yeah,
Yes, yes. Glad to be here. I think that before we get started, definitely want to talk about how living like a New Yorker can help anybody watching this to know, no matter what is happening in the political space, that as new former New Yorker, you're a current New Yorker,
Mhm.
is it's just a Monday or Tuesday in New York. Whatever happens, it's just another day in New York. It doesn't, no matter what the political space does, whether or not they're going back and forth with the courts or not listening, it's always something. And the trick is to really not allow that to mess your whole day up, because
Absolutely.
literally in New York, it's always something. It's always,
Always.
and people end up paying. Like, so yes, the person you feel is responsible for this may not pay, but somebody in their staff, somebody in their corp company, somebody somewhere is going to pay. That's a New York tradition. It's like you're just not going to get away with it, you know. And we could look at what's the guy, um, Gotti, John Gotti, as that same scenario, you know.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, we all have an expiration date. Some of us sooner than others.
Yeah. So just gotta just ride the wave.
Yes,
Think like a New Yorker.
get on the train,
Yeah.
get back home, uh, love the people in your house or your vicinity, and your favorite bodega still be there. So I was looking at this one block. I forget in Brooklyn where it's at, but the whole block was bought by this private equity company. So they're destroying all the stores, the washing machine, the laundromat. There's a pizza store that's been there for 40 years, and this girl who kind of semi goes viral. She went back to the block, so to speak, where she grew up at, and was like, talking about this pizza. So Keith Lee came to the pizza place,
Hmm.
and he did a video, and he's like, it's not that the pizza place he needs money or something. Like, he's got money, he can, the block is being destroyed by a real estate developer, and that's what happens in New York. Your favorite iconic store, place that your grandfather might have went there, your father went there, you went there. Now you expect to take your child. It's gone.
Go on.
Guess what? They got a new location.
Hmm.
It's now in Brooklyn, or it's now in Queens. It's not the same. No, it's not. But guess what? You can still go get your favorite thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I don't know who wants to go to Queens. Well, make a choice.
Right.
Decide what you want to do. Like, so it's dead and gone. It's never to come back again. It's just in a different new location. And that's
Solution.
New York. That's
It's,
the way of the world.
yeah.
But every other place, people lose their mind if this iconic whatever it is, it could be a stadium. Like, the thing that killed me was how the Yankee Stadium that I grew up on was a new stadium. I didn't even understand why they built a new stadium until I went to the new stadium. I was like, this is stupid. Like, Yankee Stadium is great. This is great. It's tight. It's like this. Okay, but it's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you go to the new stadium, like, wow,
It's
wow, that's a lot
nice.
of space. This is great. So I felt bad. I felt guilty for liking the new stadium, because, like, right across the street is an old stadium that I grew up on. What do
Right.
you mean?
You know,
You know?
it's so funny because I think that's what we do. Like, it's that knee jerk reaction, and I think as introverts, we like routine. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Leave it alone. And then we do the whole, my God, like, why do you have to touch it? Like, why? And then when we see this, like, all right, okay, fine. But I still like the old one.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things that you just you know you don't. No one actually teaches you how to navigate transition and change. So, as a New Yorker, because there's so much change and transition all the time, you learn how to ride that wave, as you said earlier. But a lot of, outside of New York, people are not used to that. They just like, yo, you about to take my favorite, whatever, and then to that point, a lot of times I find, at least I feel like, this may not be the case. Somebody else may argue differently, but I feel like because of how passionate people are and how much you can get people riled up, we, I say we, New York was the original viral space, so, or place. In other words, when we got angry about this store, this thing in closing, and there was a news story, and then because the news story, they all three of the stations they follow the same. So then regular people who didn't live near that thing were like, yeah, I think that's bad too. Da, da, da. So now the owners are thinking, wow, we went viral before there was virality,
Mhm.
and we were covered on all three news stations, plus the two radio stations, the news stations, 1010 Wins and CBS 88, News 88. At wait a minute, maybe we should stay open. Maybe we should, So now they found the money, or they found got a loan. They needed that uh, inspiration, to say maybe we should fight this brand. As we talk about branding, this brand is actually worth it. The audience, New York, and it's like New York wants me to stay, and it's really not New York, but it's enough of us that contributed to the news story that the ownership is like, let's try it, and then somehow the rest of New York falls in line. So like, it's not even 10%. It's not 800,000 people, that want this stuff. It's like 5,000 or 8,000, but that 8,000 can seem like
Yeah.
it can seem like it's 800,000. And then what happens? The rest of New York is, well, if they like it, I might as well try it. So then, boom, so now that brand. So I think a lot of times the average person doesn't realize how much a difference their small circle can make to affect or infect, the rest of the people around them
Yeah.
to go ahead and make that decision to come on board and fight for this school not to be closed down, or this store that moves across town. Well, let's go to the new. Yo, I meant to save it. I'm trying to think where it was at. I think I saw it on TikTok. I would have sent it to you. I forgot until just this minute. There's this video, I think it's Michigan, of these people helping their favorite bookstore move.
Mhm.
They form a human chain around 3 blocks, and they passed 9,000 books down the chain. It was cute, funny, but at the same time weird. So it's like they're outside, they're passing book to book. I'm like, is that new books? And I was like, this is a bookstore, so it's not like a library. I can see what they did in a library. Like, okay, cool. But it's like new books that people. I'm like, they having them in Kate that I put. I had so many questions, but
Mhm.
the point I'm making is that you think that you're going to have to face X, Y, and Z alone, or this is going to be so horrific. And the minute you open your mouth, like people that align with you, so that's one of the challenges of being an introvert that you realize as you grow up and as an adult, you can't get what you want by being silent.
No.
However, silence can be branded a certain way so that when you do speak, there's enough of the brand to help sell that story or tell that story.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it wasn't until I joined mentorship because I mean I know brands, right? Because there are
Mhm.
brands everywhere, but I never thought that I could be a brand, right? I never thought that. It wasn't until joining mentorship and basically learning and growing and shifting the whole mindset. And like I'm now embracing the fact that I am a brand because I am the introvert whisperer.
Yes, you are.
And it's a matter of basically finding your purpose and getting behind it and basically speaking about it, like basically
Right.
like whatever it is. um and you can only I feel as if like you can only be one brand. You can have a lot of different products, but I feel like whatever you are, that's what you are.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and so because it's funny, like with me having a t-shirt business, you had introduced me to this young lady, and when she called me regarding, the marketing of the business, the t-shirt business, and how I wanted to do it, blah, blah, blah. And then when she looked at my introvert page, she's like, well, maybe you should, redo your t-shirt business so that it's introvert related. I'm like, oh no, because at the time I didn't see her vision. But I feel like over the course of time, this is the trajectory that my life is going into.
Yeah.
It's about everything is. because that's what I
It
am,
feeds
right?
into one of the others, right?
So there isn't a separation of me having a t-shirt business versus doing life insurance versus, having, my the introvert, because introvert is who I am. So everything that I do, everything that I will speak to,
Right,
is the introvert whisperer.
right.
So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that we in talking about branding and being an introvert, or you today you can do things with AI, or even um, we talked about Canva
Mm-hmm.
a little bit off the offline. You know, there are messages that come through the brand image. And so one of the first things that I look at when I think about branding is, what's the brand's promise? What is the brand promising to do? And so, like with Nike, their brand is to be there for the ad. Their very first ad tells you, if you go Google Nike's first ad, it'll tell you their um, brand promise is to be there for the athlete through thick and thin, no matter what happens on the
Mm-hmm.
good days, the bad days. Da, da, da. So then you think about their logo, you think about their design of the sneaker. Does it say that I'm going to be steady? I'm going to be here. I'm dependable. All the things. So in figuring out, branding, you need to start with, what am I promising the consumer or the person before they actually touch the product. So what are you saying? And then that kind of aligns with the type of font that you choose, whether it's slanted, italicized, or whether it's bold, or it's bubbled, or it's really sharp and edgy, or like Times New Roman, very traditional. Like, it helps to you identify why what is my promise, what am I saying I have to do, that I'm telling the consumer my brand will be there. And then, because we have AI and stuff, AI can do videos. It can You can take your voice and put your voice on a voiceover. You don't have to hire a voiceover actor, but
Mm-hmm.
you can.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can use a AI version of James L. Jones or somebody else, Tupac or what have you, and you can pay to use their voice on your branding.
Yeah.
And so that, but again, keeping in mind, what's my brand promise? Does Prince, or does uh, Muhammad Ali, does that align with your brand? And then that branding doesn't have to be physically you.
Right.
So theoretically, you as the owner can be silent, and the branding can still speak and have a voice and have a presence.
And loud.
Right, that
Yeah,
part.
and probably louder than you could you could possibly be,
Possibly, yeah.
because like I think some people might look at my content and think, "Oh, she's great at this," and blah, and because the reality of it is I enjoy doing what I do because
You
I
make it look easy. That's the thing
right,
about
right,
it.
but I think it's because I am not by trade, but by it's a God thing where like I have creative powers that I didn't know I had, and with AI it makes it that much more easy. But
Right,
when I do my shorts, I like to basically like just have fun. That's just me, and I'm just now being comfortable capturing it on film and sharing it. But I was never one to love social media. I've embraced it because I understand the importance of it, but
right.
I'm learning so many different tools that makes it easier. Whether it's metrical, which I use to schedule my content. So
Mhm,
depending on what it is, I'll schedule it for the month. I'm
mhm,
now embracing Opus clips. So basically, from my long forms, creating these clips and then scheduling those for the month also.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
and now I'm testing out because I love um ChatGPT. I mean, ChatGPT and me are friends now, so we talk every day. And I was able to create this cute animated AI of me. So to your point, I'm going to be using her now, so that I don't have to show up every day, because to be quite transparent, sometimes I get in my head trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to talk about today?
Right.
I don't have time to record or whatever have you. And now I don't have to worry about that because now that I have my animated Antonia, I can say, okay,
That
well, I want her to have on this brand and this is the message that I want her to convey because now I'm going to have her help me to promote my book because, you know, gone are the days when we should complain about, oh, I don't have enough time or I can't afford to hire someone to do my designs. You know,
exactly.
yeah, because all it requires is your thinking. Because me and Dr. Pratt could do the same thing, we could have the same idea, but what we tell our chat GPT will be totally different. So the
And
output,
how
right?
we tell it too.
Yeah. So it's all about, like the prompt. But trust me, introvert, you can do this too. Because while it has been, a challenge and, like I still do get into my head about what am I going to do, how I'm going to do it. The reality of it is getting more and more easy because of the fact that AI is there. In the beginning, like you, I was like, ugh, AI, no, because AI is gonna take over my job. AI is gonna take over the world. So you may as well get on the train now. Get on the train now because there is a lot that you can do. So you don't have to worry about paying hundreds and thousands of dollars for someone to create an ad for you
Exactly.
or for someone to help you with your marketing. Yes, you can get someone to help, to guide you along the way because I did in the beginning, but
Hmm.
there are tools that can help you um, to get it done. There are tools there to help you to brand yourself. I think the hard part of though is trying to figure out what your brand is. you know,
Yeah,
what do you
there's
think?
definitely complicated or complex. There's actually we can put it in the description. There's actually a Chat GPT prompt that prompts you to ask you what is your brand archetype. An archetype is almost like an avatar or a facsimile. I'm starting to love old school words. So I want to go back to them.
Facsimile, yes. For,
I
the,
was
for those who
befuddled.
don't know, facsimiles are fax. You may
Right.
not even know what a fax is, but that's when we used to send things. Instead of emailing it, it actually used to go through the phone lines. And
And it also means a copy. So,
yeah,
it's still saying copy.
yeah.
Um, I want to say words like befuddled and befuddlement. I'm going to bring back the old words because these new words is just, yeah. So, but yeah, facsimile of your copy of, or we say carbon copy because that's really what it more like it is, a carbon copy of who your brand is. This Chat GPT prompt will you click on a link in in our description, and you'll be able to walk through. It's going to ask you like 3 or 4 questions. Are you this? Are you that? That should help you decide really what is my brand. But again, before you even decide what your brand is, what are you promising people that you're going to deliver on? And that to me is your North Star or is your guiding force is what am I promising to do that's going to be unique for you to deliver on for the end user, whether that's a consumer or whether that's a nonprofit, and it's just a client and clientele or a community that you're serving. It doesn't have to be a for-profit; it could be a non-for-profit. But again, not your mission statement? That's definitely different. Your
Hmm.
promise. I promise to always blah 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 blah,
Hmm.
and
So,
then pick your brand and your colors and all of that stuff.
so I think it's easier said than done, right? Because, um, and I
How
will.
wait, back up. How is it easier to say than done if they have to just go to Chat GPT?
No, no, no.
I had to go to Brooklyn Business Library, and I had to talk to those boring ASS librarians who looked at me like they never ran a business in their life,
Yeah.
but yet they were at the Brooklyn Business Library, and I had to ask them questions that they, maybe a business professor would be able to answer, but these librarians who'd never been outside the library were standing there as the guardians of this great knowledge and information. And people today can go to ChatGPT and just type
And the funny thing is, and even before ChatGPT, there was Google, right? So I'm a Google person.
or
Like,
Yahoo,
yeah, right. So I used to just love
Alta
to look up
Vista.
stuff. Yeah. But I say easier said than done, because if you don't know who you are, if you haven't tapped
Hmm.
into yourself yet, I think it is a little bit more difficult, right? Because to be fair,
Hmm.
it wasn't until about 2.5 years ago that I became the introvert whisperer. Prior to that, like when people used to, when I joined the mentorship and they were talking about brand, I'm like, you mean my t-shirt business? because
Right.
because at the time I didn't know.
Hmm.
And so I feel like at some point when you choose to look into yourself and you choose to shift your mindset and do what
Hmm.
makes you happy, then that's when you'll find what your purpose is, and then you'll find that thing that brings you joy. Because I feel like, when you're okay with doing the same thing over, teaching about it, talking about it, you eat, breathe, live, sleep,
Right.
that's the thing that you love, right? But
Right.
to Dr. Pratt's point, you can just go into ChatGPT. It literally prompts you and asks you certain questions so that it can help to steer you in a direction. It may not, 'cause, and then you might disagree with the output, but what you put in is what you're going to get out. So,
Right.
so you have, in my opinion, and this is just based on my experience, right? Because now that I'm here, I'm realizing you don't know what you don't know.
That part.
But you have to be willing to shift your mindset, shift your way of thinking, so that you can figure that thing out, because that's where your joy, like that's where you'll find your happiness, when you find what your purpose is and you start to do it. Because, and as Dr. Pratt said, basically, how will you use your gift to help people, because that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Mm. Well, it's been another great episode of Martin and Antonia discusses what they
Yes.
Now you go off and create your own podcast.
Right, exactly. And this actually, I wouldn't say it, because I feel like there are no accidents in life.
Hmm.
I think that things happen if you allow them to happen. And yeah, so I would like to believe that I have been a student of the universe, lack of a
Right.
better word.
Right. Right.
And I'm also placing myself in position so that I can be taught and led, right? I don't really go out much, and thankfully for communities is where how I found Dr. Pratt, or we found each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
And I chose to invest in myself by working with Dr. Pratt, who I was blessed when he told me he was introverted, because there's nothing like having someone who understands you so that you don't
Yeah.
even have to explain anything. And,
Right.
so there are a lot that I learned through via Dr. Pratt. Like sometimes, like, again, like, so when I created like little animated Antonio on Sunday, I sent it to him, it was like, hey, try this app. She'll talk. And I was like, okay. And it worked. And so, when you open yourself up and allow yourself to go into certain spaces, whether physically or virtually,
Right.
you learn things. The space could even be YouTube, because that's where I learned a whole lot of things, right? So don't go on YouTube, looking at a Kendrick beef or the politics, whatever going on, because that ain't got nothing to do with you. I mean, I
Right.
do in my spare time, but I learn a lot. Like, there's so many content creators that will teach you about how to do this, that, or the third. Like, there's so many
Exactly.
things. Yeah, even if it's just gardening, how to run. There's everything. So tap in and get it done. It's
Yes, ma'am.
our time. It is our time.
It is time to shine.
It is. This was good.
It was. It was nice
Good.
flow, ebb and flow.
Yes, yes. So that's our episode for this week. Thank you for tuning in. I do hope that this will help you so that you can go and figure out your purpose, so that you can begin to
Yes.
brand yourself. The world is waiting for you. The world is waiting for you. So thank you for being here once again. Please like and subscribe, share if you find this to be useful, and see you next time. Thank you, Dr. Pratt.
All right. See everybody.